What a game by the Buffalo Bills. Of course, that was everything that I had hoped and dreamed for heading into tonight's game. And of course, you guys are tuning into this Thomas Take Sports Podcast post-game show. This will be pre-recorded, airing on Wednesday night at 8. Of course, I'm coming to you, though, recording this as of moments after the game, keeping all the thoughts that I need right here fresh in my mind so that I could put forth a great show for you guys, an authentic take on what was probably the best Buffalo Bills performance of the 2023 season thus far, at the very least, dating back to week 5. What's happening, everybody? I'm Ryan Thomas. Of course, you're tuning into the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on the Buffalo Fanbase Podcast Network, sponsored by 26 Shirts. You can see the logo in the top right of this stream, 26 Shirts, where you can find a shirt and give back to a great cause while repping a shirt that supports your favorite Buffalo sports team, whether it's the Bills, whether it's the Sabres, whether it's the Bandits, or if you just simply love Buffalo, 26 Shirts has the items for you, okay? Take a look, hop on their site, guarantee you will enjoy what they have to offer. So plenty to discuss tonight, but wow, other than, nitty gritty X's and O's of this game, all I can say about this game is simply wow. I am blown away by the performance that the Bills put forth tonight. This was a dominant, well-disciplined victory that seemed like it's been a long time coming, but hey, better late than never as the Bills move to 8-6. The Buffalo Bills blow out the Dallas Cowboys 31-10 at home, and the Bills keep their playoff hopes alive and well. You love to see it. You really do, especially when the Dallas Cowboys come into Buffalo. Far too long, the Cowboys seemed like they were just kind of a thorn in our side whenever we did play them, but not today. Dallas had nothing to offer for the Buffalo Bills. Defensively, Dallas's defense, pitiful. And I'm so thankful for the reasons outside of the fact that, we were playing the Cowboys. I have the Cowboys defense in fantasy football. I decided not to start them. Of course, I was not going to be starting the Dallas Cowboys defense against my Buffalo Bills. That just wasn't going to happen. So very thankful that I didn't, because Buffalo came to play. They showed up. And there is, without a doubt, so many takeaways from this game that I'm really excited to dive into, and they're a long time coming. What I saw today, certain facets of what I saw today, were what I had hoped that I would see eventually as time evolved this season. And hey, I expected it a little bit sooner than week 15, but for anybody that's got James Cook on their fantasy team, holy Moses. The story of this game is that James Cook emerges as a superstar running back one. This was not just your average running back performance. This was a running back performance that we've seen only from the elite of the elite, the Christian McCaffreys, the Austin Ecklers, the Saquon Barkleys, the Derrick Henrys. James Cook had a game today that those guys consistently have. This is the first one that he's ever had, but he had one. And that could be the start of something really, really big. The Bills just continued to go to James Cook any chance they could. And the stat line is ridiculous. James Cook finished with 221 total yards and a pair of touchdowns. And this was a prediction that I made on the 24/7 Buffalo Fandemonium show, Sunday Sessions this afternoon, that I thought Cook could have a massive game. Because with the pressure of a Micah Parsons, Josh Allen's going to have to get the ball out of his hand fairly quickly, and he did. When he had an opportunity to as well, the Bills ran away from Micah Parsons, essentially taking Parsons out of the game completely, as he didn't really do much of anything. And come the conclusion of the game, Josh Allen only threw 15 total passes in the game, which has got to be a career low since his rookie, debut, since he came into a game in which Nathan Peterman was starting back in 2018. late in the fourth quarter. That's got to be the lowest passing total since Allen's first NFL game. I feel like I'm pretty right on that. I'll have to go back and look, but holy Moses. I mean, this was an ass whooping, a one-sided pounding, and Buffalo was swinging the hammer each and every drive, offensively or defensively. Dak Prescott couldn't do anything. This was just such a dominant victory that you got to be coming away from this one feeling really, really confident in just what's ahead for this Bills team. Because to be honest with you, the playoffs are still in the picture. They're winning games. You go back to last week beating the Kansas City Chiefs. They should have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles. They lost that one in overtime. They should have beaten the Denver Broncos. They left too many men on the field. Man, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but this team should be much, much better record-wise than where they're at. And I think today they actually proved that with the numbers that we saw in this one. Bills-wise, Josh Allen only needed to complete 7 passes in this game for 94 yards, a touchdown passing, and a touchdown rushing. James Cook, 25 carries for 179 yards rushing and a touchdown. James Cook, 2 catches, 42 yards, and a receiving touchdown. So the stat leaders, Josh Allen, I guess, if you want to throw that out there, the stat leader for this one was James Cook. This was the James Cook show, and I'm so happy that this dimension of this Bills offense is seen. Buffalo's rushing attack is a new threat. This is a threat that we had not seen for at least 5-6 years, since the days of Shady McCoy, where Buffalo was predominantly a rushing team where they didn't have a quarterback like Josh Allen. They had a guy by the name of Tyrod Taylor. That's the last time that I can confidently say that the Buffalo Bills had any sort of a rushing attack. And to see it not just with James Cook, but with Ty Johnson and Latavius Murray, this Bills offense is cooking in new ways. And it's very exciting for fans like myself who've been pounding the table, hoping, praying that eventually this team would get a running game. And they have one. And listen, why was it so important to me that the Buffalo Bills had any sort of a run game? It's important because as we get into the November, December, God willing, January months, we know one thing is for certain. The weather in Buffalo, the weather in Western New York is brutal. And you need to have a running offense, a rushing attack rather, to ice your opponent. And essentially, Dallas was iced in this one. Dallas had nothing to turn to, because by the time Dallas was able to get any bit of a rhythm going, it was far too late. When you can control that time of possession, it really just locks the game in your hands and puts the game solely in your hands, wearing down the defense that you're facing. This was a demoralizing defeat for the Dallas Cowboys, who play Miami next week. More on that in a little bit. But what a win for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I cannot state it enough. 31-10. And realistically, defensively, Teron Johnson had a huge day. Taylor Rapp, playing for Micah Hyde, made great run-stuffing stops, a time or two in this game. Offensively for Dallas, Dak Prescott, 21 of 34 for 134 yards and an interception. Tony Pollard had 52 yards on 11 carries in total. CD Lamb, the guy that I referred to as somebody that Buffalo definitely needs to put a stop to, 7 catches for 53 yards. This was just a downright clinic of a game. And you know what? I am going to go back to just the fact that this was a blowout. And I know this year's been very difficult for a lot of Bills fans, myself included. And we've made statements, I made them myself, very frustrated for Sean McDermott and some of the decisions that he's made this year. But Sean McDermott is the coach of this team. That is not changing anytime soon. And realistically, this was Sean McDermott's best game this year as a coach for the Buffalo Bills. And I think that this was Joe Brady's masterclass with the different running plays that they utilized, tosses, counters, stretches, dives. the mix was just so potent for this offense, and it was very tough for Dallas to guess what type of play was actually coming. So Joe Brady's done a phenomenal job getting this rushing attack going. We did start to see a little bit of that with Dorsey. Wasn't really perfected, though, at this level. Certainly not. James Cook, over 200 total yards in this game. This was a phenomenal victory for the Buffalo Bills. And when you're at this point this late in the year and you can find new ways to win, man, you're really at a point where you can just honestly show what you're capable of. I can't wait to continue to talk to the Bills Mafia this week, moving forward on this. And I cannot wait to see what the Bills do now after this game. I hope that this was not a game where they get too high on themselves and go to LA to take on the lowly LA Chargers and come up short in that one and blow their season. At this point, it really seems like these players are playing a do or die mentality, and you're at a point in which you got to win out. And that's to my next statement: run the table. Taking a look at this schedule, we're obviously rooting for the Buffalo Bills to beat Dallas this week. They do that. Now we're rooting for Dallas to beat the Miami Dolphins. And I'll tell you, you look at this AFC, and there's a lot of teams that are having better years record-wise than the Buffalo Bills, Cleveland being one of them, that have had this new lease on life with Joe Flacco. Cincinnati's not really missing a beat without Joe Burrow. Jake Browning has done a phenomenal job as the QB1 for the Bengals. Really, Buffalo just has to keep winning. You can't look at it as if we need X team to lose and we need Y team to lose. We just need Buffalo to win the games that they have in front of them. And the next one is the Chargers. And this should be a game that the Bills should win due to the fact that Justin Herbert is gone. Brandon Staley is gone. General manager for the Chargers is gone. So the Chargers are essentially, they're a mess, right? They don't really have a lot to lose playing against the Buffalo Bills. They have everything to gain. Those are the types of games that can get a little dicey for the Buffalo Bills. That's where they've come up short this year in other games. So playing against teams that are not nearly as talented as they are and playing down to the level of who they play, that's got to stop. Playing like they did today, really with a point to prove that they do belong in this discussion as an AFC playoff team. And the playoffs are week to week at this point. Each game in the regular season could be looked at as if it's a playoff game. It was a wet, rainy day, and it was going to be a game that was going to be won in the trenches. And to see Buffalo's offensive line run block as efficiently as they did, not only did James Cook make some guys miss here and there, but the holes were there, and they were opened up by Osiris Torrance as well, former Dallas Cowboy Connor McGovern. Deion Dawkins played a phenomenal game today. This was a coaching clinic by the Buffalo Bills, and I've said it for years. I'll say it now. I'll say it again. Coaching does matter in this league. It always has mattered. It always will matter. And this was one of those games that the Bills just simply outcoached the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas really had no answer for anything that Buffalo threw at them, offensively or defensively. Mike McCarthy just looked frustrated on that sideline. And maybe if you had a thicker back in Dallas like an Ezekiel Elliott, that would have changed things today, but they don't. They have a wiry Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, Kenneth Vaughn, 5'4" at best. You know, that's where Dallas is going to run into some trouble on the road playing against these teams in poor climates that they're not accustomed to. And that was a part of today's game as well. Make no mistake about it. Dallas could not adjust to the wet, rainy, soggy environment. As that game wore on, the rain started to pour. Later at night it gets. It's going to continue to do that. It's the same way in the wintertime here in Western New York. The later in the day, the more it's going to snow. Once that wind chill drops down, it makes it a lot easier for the environment to get a little hostile, not just in the stands, but from the sky. So Mother Nature environment-wise. So This was a great win for the Buffalo Bills fans. This was one that I feel keeps Buffalo, of course, in that playoff picture. And to beat a team like Dallas, say whatever you want. I've said it myself that Dallas can oftentimes be an accident waiting to happen. This was that game where they were an accident waiting to happen. But I think it was more, to be honest with you, Dallas didn't make any turnover mistakes. They just could not get anything going. The coverage of the Buffalo Bills was dominant, flying all over the field. The speed of the Bills defense is at a higher level than it's ever been. I think a lot of that has to do with the linebacker core that is out there. Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, Tyrell Dodson, all three of those guys played phenomenally in this game, and it was great to see. I can't say enough good things about it. You won't hear me say a negative thing about this game ever. This was one of the most complete, patented, complementary football performances that you could ever see from a team this year. This was the best Bills win since week 5 playing Miami, winning that one 48-20 or whatever it was. This was their best game this year. No doubt about it. Very impressed with the way this team played today. And there's a lot to take away from this game for sure, positively. But the only thing that I can say moving forward is let's not let this one get into our heads. Moving one step ahead, on to the next one, the Chargers. So I think that we're going to win that game. And if we do win that game, we're at 9-6, heading to a home environment that'll welcome us back with open arms against the New England Patriots, who have been an utter disaster. Then you have the Dolphins to wrap up the season. So realistically, this game was massive for the Buffalo Bills, and they could win out, finish 11-6. If Miami loses one more, we have that tiebreaker over them by sweeping them this year. Week 18 is going to be a big, big game if Buffalo takes care of business between now and then. And so far, they are. I mean, to think that we should be coming off of what should have been a win against Denver, a win against the Jets, an overtime loss, which should have been a one against Philly. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 should be on a 5-game win streak right now. And instead it's a 2-game win streak. So that's the way the cookie crumbled this year. We got our backs against the wall, and it feels like the Bills are playing like that. And that is actually the right mentality to use. They dug themselves into a hole. They got to be willing to dig themselves out. And they definitely put Dallas in a deep, deep hole early on in this game. Great, great game by the Buffalo Bills. You won't hear me say a negative thing about it today. Couldn't have gone any better than it did. Could not have gone any better than it did. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Takes Sports Podcast. You can tune in to my follow-up shows, the Buffalo Bills, the Charging Buffalo Conversation Series. Episode 4 will be out in the near future. First episode went back to 2002 when the Bills traded for Drew Bledsoe, breaking down where I was when that happened. And then you have episode 2. I went back to 1985 in a moment that was a franchise-altering moment when the Bills selected Bruce Smith first overall. 1986, they promote Marv Levy as the new interim head coach mid-season. Moving forward, yes, at one point, Marv Levy was an interim head coach. So pretty crazy stuff. Episode 4 will be one to tune into as well for all the old school Buffalo Bills fans, going back to the late 80s, early 90s. I can't wait to dive into some of that. Get some, nostalgia from the Charging Buffalo Conversation Series. So there you have it. That Charging Buffalo Conversation Series, by the way, available on all audio podcasting platforms. This one, the post-game shows, available everywhere. YouTube, audio, Thomas Take Sports Podcast, streaming live on Facebook and Twitter /X at Ryan Thomas Take. You see that right there. All righty. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go Bills.